Hey guys, I have a super busy week coming up, so I wanted to give you guys a video. Maybe I'll do one or two more this evening, and then don't expect one tomorrow for sure, because I'll be super busy tomorrow and Tuesday both. So, one of our commenters posted a comment saying that I should go visit Christopher Watson prison and try to get the truth out of him. And I started to write this lengthy reply. And I thought, hey, I'll do a video quick instead. So here's my reply. My opinion is that he needs a good psychiatrist and a good minister, both, to help him come to terms with the truth of what happened. If I went to visit him in prison, he would just sit there and babble on about how great his wife was, right? So it would be a total waste of time. I don't think he's emotionally, mentally, or spiritually at a point where he even knows what the truth is. I know that sounds kind of extreme. Sorry, guys. But that's just what I think. The reason I think he needs a good minister is because I think that he's afraid that his wife's soul is actually in hell. And I think with his religious upbringing, that he's believing somehow that covering for her will somehow elevate her soul to heaven. Sick, I know. But I truly think he struggles not with his own salvation, but with his wife's afterlife, and that he blames himself as the husband for not being able to save her. As for the psychiatrist, I want you to think about this. Think about how gender biased this case has been right from the start. Think about the case of the mother, I think she was down in Tennessee, the wife and mother who got herself in a big financial mess. She was the minister's wife. They had a beautiful home, healthy children. They were much loved in their community. Not one hint of any trouble in their marriage at all. Well, she got mixed up in some kind of a money scam and she owed something like 16 grand when the bank caught her. You know, she had secret P.O. boxes and she kept all of it hidden from her husband. But the bank was finally onto her, and the bank expected her to make good on the checks she had been writing. She was supposed to bring her husband with her to the bank to work on the two of them somehow paying the bank what she owed. She was in big trouble. You know, kiting checks and owing the bank 16 grand as a result of her check kiting is huge trouble, right? So the morning that she was supposed to be telling her husband what she'd been up to and admitting the crimes really that she had been committing, instead, she woke up super early. She went down to the kitchen to put on the coffee, and then she returned to the bedroom and she took her husband's gun. I almost said her gun. She took her husband's gun out of the closet and she shot him in the back while he was sleeping. And then she yanked the phone cord out of the wall so that he wasn't even able to call for help. She left him there to bleed to death while she loaded her kids in the car and spent the day at the beach. Okay? She spent the day at the beach while her husband lay there dying. She was caught. She was put on trial. And at her trial, she testified about how her husband made her feel in the bedroom. Because evidently, according to her, now remember, her husband was dead. According to her, he made her dress up like a whore, and that made her feel bad. She was convicted, and her sentence was 210 days in jail. And of those 210 days in jail, she was allowed to spend 60 of those days receiving help because of the trauma she had endured. Obviously, she was female. And because she was female, society wanted to know what on earth must have happened to her for her to have done such a thing. But in the case of Christopher Watts, well, he's male. So look at how the case has been treated and how Christopher Watts has been treated so differently than the case of the minister's wife. I think before Christopher Watts will be able to tell the truth of what happened, he needs to be able to get the help that he seriously needs from both a minister and from a psychiatrist who are trained in this type of case. You do realize that when women are abused, it often takes 3 or 4 years, sometimes 5, sometimes 10 years before they realize that they were being abused at all. Did you know that? Did you know that even after an abuse survivor escapes the abusive marriage, they still pretend to themselves that their abuser was something other than what they really were? One example is abuse victims will almost all the time say, "Oh, but he's such a good father." Well, here's a news flash for you. Good fathers don't beat on their children's mother. Good fathers don't beat on their children. Good fathers don't frighten their families. Good fathers do not abuse their wife and children. And yet, over and over again, survivors of domestic violence and child abuse, the children themselves, will say, "Oh, but he's a good dad." Or they'll try to minimize it and just say, "Well, they didn't get along, but he's such a good dad." No, he isn't. No, he isn't. With everything that we've learned so far about the case of Christopher Watts, my guess is it's going to take him at least 3 years, maybe 5 years, before he can begin to understand what he's been through. And that's only if he's actually able to get some help from a highly skilled psychiatrist and from a highly skilled minister, too. Just my opinion.